Let me guess, you want to pick up a fantasy book, but you don't want to have to commit to an 8-book unfinished series? Perfect, you're in the right place because I'm going to be rapid firing through 19 of my favorite fantasy standalones. I will be splitting this up into parts 1 and part 2, so make sure you follow along so that you don't miss all these amazing recommendations. Don't Let the Forest In by C.J. Drews is a YA gothic botanical horror about two boys who write and illustrate monstrous fairy tales. However, when they're away at boarding school, the monsters in their fairy tales start to come to life and suffocate boys from the inside out. The Spirit Bares Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White is another gothic horror where an autistic trans boy who is able to see and communicate with the other side is sent away to a sanatorium for sick girls. And once he arrives at the sanatorium, he begins to be haunted by the ghosts of missing girls from the sanatorium, literally begging him for help. Now, if you want a witchy historical fantasy with World War II as the backdrop, you have got to pick up A Resistance of Witches by Morgan Ryan. Here we follow our FMC, who is a witch in London, as she goes on an epic quest to find a dark grimoire before it can fall into Nazi hands. Although not technically a fantasy, A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang is another historical story, except this one is about Zixi, who is one of the 4 legendary beauties of China, and about how her beauty was used to literally topple an entire kingdom. Moving back into horror, because yes, it has been my fall hyperfixation. I'm sure if you follow me, you've already noticed that. Anyway, Ringed Out by P. Djeli Clark is a Southern Gothic horror, and here we follow 3 freedom fighters as they ride around the American South, literally slaying Ku Klux demon monsters, like actual monsters. If you're interested in another Southern Gothic horror, When Devils Sing by Zan Carr centers around the folklore of meeting one of 3 devils at a crossroads and making a deal with him. And here we follow our 4 main characters as they form an unlikely alliance when one of their peers go missing, and on the search for their friend, they uncover some absolutely horrific and sinister information about what exactly has been keeping their small southern town afloat. Babel by R.F. Kuang is a dark academia story about an orphan boy from China who is taken to London to prepare to attend Oxford's prestigious Institute of Language and Magic. And once he gets there, he uncovers the atrocities being committed in the name of colonialism, and he has to decide if he is going to sit silently and be complacent in these atrocities, or if he is going to join the rebellion that is brewing in the underground of the city in order to stop Oxford and potentially stop the British Empire. Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang follows our FMC, who is the first ever female high mage in her city, and she forms an unlikely alliance with a refugee, and together the two of them uncover extremely awful corruption that has essentially been keeping their city afloat, and they need to decide if they are, again, going to be complicit in this, or if they're going to stand up and do something about the injustices that are going on. And finally, The Scattered Bones by Nicole Scarano is literally about a woman who is journeying across the realm, collecting the scattered bones of her lover, and she goes on this journey with a mysterious dark stranger. Be sure to follow along so that you don't miss part 2 with 10 more fantasy standalone racks.